Hey, everybody, how you doing? Welcome to Fatso Radio. This episode of Fatso Radio is brought to you by Volpe Martial Arts. This episode and every episode is brought to you by Volpe Martial Arts, folks. Volpe Martial Arts is KW's hottest, newest Kung Fu and Hapkido martial arts school. That's right, folks. Sifu Adam, my brother, Adam Volpe, has brought his lifelong passion of Hapkido and Kung Fu, put it together, Volpe Martial Arts. It's an amazing fusion. Like I said, he's been training since he was a kid. Here's our logo, Volpe Martial Arts. You'll notice on the logo is two foxes. Our last name Volpe, my last name Volpe means fox. There you go. Two Volpes on the symbol. Volpe Martial Arts, folks. Check them out. Tonight's episode, it's a fast one, but it's about fasting. I talk so much about fasting. I don't talk about so much about fasting, but I hear so much about fasting. And I do. And I actually fast quite a bit. Day to day, it's what I do. I usually eat one meal a day, and that's what it's about. So thank you, folks, for listening. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for likes. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to hit the notifications button. I love you all. Lily, take it away with that theme song, babe. Happy Friday, everybody. I love you all.
Fatso, the really great podcast show.
Fatso, a very first podcast show.
Hey, everybody, welcome to Fatso Radio. How you doing? Episode 111. Wow. 111 times I've been here, folks. 111 times. Someone's been listening and someone's been watching, so thank you so much. I love you all. Again, what's Fatso Radio? Fatso Radio is the podcast, the YouTube channel, the video series, the whatever you want to call this mess. The whole series, the 3 seasons now dedicated primarily about talking to you and showing you that fat is not the enemy. Dietary fat is not the enemy, especially animal fat is not the enemy. So Fatso, why is it called Fatso Radio, right? Fatso, there's many reasons why. If you go back to episode 1 or 2 or whatever episode it was, I was explaining it, but I want to explain it again a little bit today. Fatso. So fat's not the problem, right? We were told for many, many years that fat was the problem. Dietary fat was the problem. If you eat too much fat, you'll get fat. Or if you eat fat in general, you'll get fat. That's not the problem. It really is not the problem. Not only that, Fatso, right? Because this ketogenic diet or the high fat diet, right? Because we're not supposed to be afraid of fat anymore. We never should have been afraid of fat, but because that high fat diet works in a ketogenic way for some people or a carnivore diet way for other people, and I've done both, that's why I wanted to embrace the idea of Fatso. So what? Fatso Radio. I've been called Fatso for the most part of my life, from other people I love, people I didn't love, people I knew, people I didn't know. And sometimes it's endearing, sometimes it's not. I'm taking it for me. I'm taking it for anybody who wants to take it. Fatso. And this whole radio station is about taking ownership over something like that, especially because I used that advice. I used that knowledge to help me gain weight, or to help me lose weight, to help me get in better shape, to help me recover from surgery, to help me stay on a path that is, I think, the right path. And so far, the metrics are saying, telling me this, and my general anecdote, I guess, or not my anecdote, but my own testimony will tell you that I've never felt better in my entire life. So again, on a ketogenic diet, a high fat diet, a low carbohydrate, low sugar diet, I've lost over 110 pounds. I'm keeping it off now for over 5 years. And now I've eaten mostly a carnivore diet. So it just basically means meat, eggs, even stuff like cheese, but it's basically animal food, animal products. And that's what I mean. And I'm thriving, folks. I'm 42 years old. I feel literally better than I did 20 years ago. And that's what tonight's episode is about. Again, one of the things, I guess, tonight's episode, or be kind of brought together in what I want to talk about tonight, is fasting. So one of the things that comes completely natural when you get into ketosis, or when you get regular, or when you get familiar with the ketogenic diet, is fasting. And one of the reasons for that is because when you feed your body well, and you feed your body with the nutrients that it really needs, like fatty acids and protein, you can go a long time without eating. And if you do go a long time without eating, that's just basically calling fast. At any time you're not eating, clinically, medically, whatever, it's called a fast. Now, it's funny, but breakfast, right? Why do we call breakfast breakfast? Because we're breaking your fast. You go to sleep, you're not going to eat all night, and you're breaking your fast. You can have breakfast any time of the day, any time of the night. You can have breakfast at 9 o'clock at night. It doesn't matter. But the idea is that you're breaking your fast. So what am I talking about? Fasting. Fasting is powerful. Fasting is magic. Fasting is amazing, but not just fasting alone. It's the right type of fasting, I truly believe. Now, all types of fasting is probably going to be healthy to a certain extent because, I mean, just quite honestly, if you're not taking in shit, you're going to do better off, right? But I think, in my personal opinion, my personal advice, if anybody wants to take advice from me, again, I'm not a doctor. Here's the time. I'm not a doctor. I'm not giving you medical advice, but I'm giving you personal advice. I'm giving you just advice from someone who you hopefully can think of as a friend who would say, hey, I tried this. Maybe you want to give it a shot. It's not dangerous, right? It's not crazy. It may be completely different mindset than we're used to, but it's not crazy. So when you eat a high carbohydrate diet, yeah, I want to start with that. When you eat a high carbohydrate diet, like most people do, or a lot of people, maybe not even most people these days, but a lot of people still do, you end up eating more and you end up eating more often. And that's just simply factual, right? So you may say, well, I'm thin, or I can go a couple hours without eating. That's fine. You may go longer than 2 hours without eating, or you might go longer than 3 hours without eating, but you're probably not going that long without eating if you're eating a high carbohydrate diet. And you might think, why? Well, the simple answer, one of the simple reasons why, is that your blood sugar is going to be fluctuating. So when you're eating a high carbohydrate diet, when you're eating a meal that has carbohydrate in it, right? Sugar. Remember, carbohydrate is sugar, folks. When it comes down to it, carbohydrate is sugar. It gets broken down in the body, but starches, sugars, they're all sugar when it comes down to the basis. So when you eat a diet or a meal rather that's higher in carbohydrate, your blood sugar will rise postprandially, right? After your meal, your blood sugar is going to rise. Of course it's going to rise because you're eating sugar. So what happens when your blood sugar rises? Insulin rises. Your body produces insulin to counteract and bring that blood sugar back down. It does numerous things with that blood sugar, puts it in your muscles if you need it, puts it in your liver if you need it, converts it to glycogen. It circulates, it has to get it out of your blood system, right? So stores it in your fat cells or wherever it can. And it can for the most part. And if you're overweight and if you're gaining weight, that's the main thing, right? Because I don't care if you're overweight or underweight. The point that we need to talk about is if you're in a state of gaining weight. Doesn't matter where you're at, but if you're gaining weight, that means your body is storing. And what's it doing? If you're eating a high carbohydrate diet, it's taking the sugar and it's finding a place to put it. So this is why it's hard to go more than 2 or 3 hours. For some people, I know it's hard to go even 2 hours. It was me a couple of years ago where it was hard for me to go probably a couple hours without food, some kind of food, right? But this is the reason why, is because your blood sugar is playing this dance where if it goes up, right, you have to produce insulin to counterbalance it. But then when your blood sugar goes down again, and because the insulin does its job, you get hungry again because you have a blood sugar crash. You feel lethargic, maybe you feel hangry, maybe irritable, low blood sugar, right? You don't deal with that when you're on a ketogenic diet. You don't deal with that when you're on a carnivore diet. And you don't even deal with that if you're on, I would say, a moderately carnivore or a ketogenic diet. So which means like even if you're not completely in ketosis, but you're really watching your carbs, you don't have to worry about that. So why does this happen? Because when you're eating a high fat diet, right? And again, high fat, high protein. That's right. High fat, high protein. When you're eating that, it's, or even moderate protein, but you can eat high protein as well. Your blood sugar is not affected. Your blood sugar is not going to go through swings. It's not going to go through these huge waves. And because of that, your insulin is not going to go through these huge waves as well. And then your hunger is not going to go through those huge waves as well. And it absolutely follows your glucose intake, right? Most hunger that people feel is it's not really a hunger. Like it's like, you're snacky maybe, or it's a carb craving essentially, right? And when you're eating a higher fat diet and you're eating a high protein diet, your blood sugar is stable. You're not going to have those crashes all day. And because your blood sugar is stable, and if you've already adapted yourself into ketosis, so tapping into your fat cells, right, for fuel, and you have fat all over your body, you have tons and tons of fat, right? Tens of thousands of calories of fat. It makes complete sense, I hope, if you're following, that's why you're not hungry. You're tapping into all the fuel you need. A, you're tapping into all the fuel you need because you're not relying on sugar. B, you're not playing that sugar roller coaster, right? So it's actually twofold. It's not just because you're not chasing the sugar dragon. It's because you're using a different fuel source. Like, okay, if you're not going to play that sugar game, Sure, it takes a couple of days to get used to it. Sure, it takes maybe even a week or 2 weeks for people to get fully adapted. Some people it takes 3 weeks or 4 weeks or 6 weeks. But once you're adapted, you you can tap into that fuel. It's absolutely a reserve fuel, right? It seems like a reserve tank, and it is naturally probably a reserve tank. But probably more than that, I think, is that probably it's closer to our natural state. We were probably in ketosis more times than not in ketosis. I would even say, even just to kind of branch out a little bit more, or to go on a limb, but I would even say the arguments where people say, what about when we ate fruit and all that stuff? Sure, we ate fruit. How much fruit was there? I don't know, right? And how much fruit were we eating still comparable or comparative to the meat we were eating, right? Or the fish or the other stuff we were eating. The other thing too about, there's a lot of pretty good established, actually, I don't know if it's established, but there's some really good writings out there about the correlation between the higher amount of glucose or sugar you can kind of tolerate, and warmer climates closer to the equator, something like that. I don't know if that's true. It may make sense because there's actually more fruit in that parts of the earth as well, right? Where the climate is warmer, you can maybe tolerate it more because it's more genetically predisposed to, or genetically tough, I guess, or genetically resilient maybe to more sugar, or genetically used to it, I guess, maybe. Regardless, you're not going to go through swings, ups and downs. And that's why fasting is so powerful. And that's one of the reasons why I think that if you're going to try and fast, you can do it on a high carbohydrate diet. But first of all, I don't think you should, because it's not going to be, it's still advantageous, of course, but I think it'll be more difficult. And I think that you're making it more difficult than you need to, because I think there's something to be learned in the process of getting into ketosis, because you can starve yourself for 12 hours. You're fasted, right? You can starve yourself for 24 hours, whatever, 36 hours, whatever. And you may say, well, why is that starving, and why is it not? If I'm fasting, why is it different? Well, because I think if you're not prepared for it, and your body is going through some metabolic changes, like if you're kicking your system's ass, right? Because all of a sudden I was eating, or not all of a sudden, but I was eating high carb forever, and then all of a sudden I'm deciding I'm not gonna eat one day. Okay, so a few hours into that day, when you wake up and you've depleted your glycogen, right? You've depleted the sugar reserves in your liver, right? Because if you're eating mostly carbohydrates, then you're burning mostly carbohydrates. That's just how it works, right? So if you're doing that and you're burning mostly carbohydrates, and you're always hungry, it's just you're burning it, and it's just always going to be hungry. So ketosis, back to fasting again, and why I want to talk about fasting is because it's been so powerful. Many studies out there, many books, many papers written on the powerful of ketosis. But what I gotta say is that I gotta kind of do a little bit of a testing on myself. So I talk about how much I love fasting, but I always talk about how I do recommend, again, like I said, going to ketosis and even a carnivore diet before you go into fasting, because it's an easier transition. But I want to talk about how powerful it is, because it's, and I also want to talk about how not crazy it is to eat once a day, right? A lot of people call it OMAD, one meal a day, whatever you want to call it. It's just eating once a day. It's been around forever, right? Everybody had that grandmother or grandfather or aunt or uncle or sister or brother or mom or dad. It's like, what's that person doing? They eat once a day, but they live to be 100 and they're fit and they're in the garden. Well, he just eats once a day. What's he? I don't know, sardines and eggs. like I hear stories like that. It's coming out of the woodwork now. I see it, and it's so funny because it's like, my snack, I used to just eat eggs and that was great, or these little stories, but it's true, because it's powerful, right? And what I want to tell you is that I've been, for this week is a perfect example. So I've been working this week basically like 7 a.m. till maybe 7 or 8 or even at 9 at night a couple days, because it was just a long last week. So 12 hours, 13 hours. And I, like, no joke, I mean, I haven't pricked my blood and I haven't shown you and all this stuff, but take my word for it, okay? Monday morning, I got up and I went to work. I came home 7 o'clock at night. I ate supper. Tuesday, I got up in the morning. I take my thyroid medicine because I got it removed, remember, a couple of years ago. I take that, some water. I go to work. And throughout the day, I'm drinking either a club soda or those zero Gatorades. Probably not the best thing, but it's not sugar. And then I come home at 6, 7 o'clock at night. I ate. Even the other night, I ate at 8 o'clock at night. I've done that 5 days in a row this week, folks. And let me tell you, okay, I'm out and I'm delivering the mail and I'm delivering packages and I'm running. I'm not running, but I'm hustling. I'm in and out of a truck, or I'm walking and I'm opening these boxes and I'm in and out and I'm bending and I'm lifting and I'm up and down and I'm sorting and I'm walking. Like, I'm busy. I'm working, right? It's 12 hours, 13 hours, and I'm not eating. Like, believe me, this is not like a pat on the back. It's not a brag. If anything, if I'm giving any credit at all, it's not to myself. Believe me, if I'm giving any credit at all, it's to our nature, to our human ability, just our natural ability to not need food. You don't need food all day long. You need food to live, but when you get that food, then you live, right? Everybody's heard that saying, eat to live, don't live to eat. And I used to live to eat, literally, even though that wasn't a conscious thing, but I felt like I was living to eat. I felt like I was driving, or I was being driven, right? There was this engine inside me saying, find some food, find some food, find some food, find some food, want some chips, or want some whatever it was. You can eat fruit, I'll eat fruit. And this is one of the things about that I always, I'm very defensive when people say something like, wow, you could just eat fruit and vegetables all day and you won't get fat. Bullshit. You will. I did. You do. People do all the time, because they still eat their regular food, right? If you don't eat your regular nutritious food like meat and potatoes or whatever you want to eat and other vegetables, but basically meat, if you don't eat that meat, then you'll die of other diseases or other malnutritions if you just eat fruits and vegetables and nothing else, right? Or you'll leave, or you won't be as healthy. In my opinion, you won't be as healthy. So what are you going to do? So at least I ate good food as well as the bad food. Then it took me years and years to learn how to remove the bad food. And that's still a practice. It's still literally it's a practice. I equate it to like meditation, right? I'm terrible at meditating because I don't practice it enough. And literally that's what it is. It's a practice. It takes practice to get good at it. And this is it. The same thing. You got to practice. You got to practice. You got to get good. You got to get good at it. And it's one thing to know the hack, right? It's one thing to know the trick that, hey, you can focus your food on fat and focus your energy on something that's high fat and higher protein. But it's hard to do that unless you just give it a shot. So I'm working all day long. I come home and I eat, I don't know, a pound of meat, maybe a pound and a half. The other day, I ate basically a whole roast, but it was not that big. It was like a pound and a half or something. But we have to remember that like I'm 220 pounds, maybe 210 pounds. I don't know, 220 pounds, maybe. We'll see. I don't know. Master John, if you're watching, gotta get me in shape. Sifu Adam, if you're watching. Hey, Fatso, Volpe Martial Arts. Don't forget this episode and every episode is sponsored by Volpe Martial Arts. So fasting. I'm working hard, guys. I'm working hard. I did this when I was just walking 15 kilometers a day. Before I started this job, I was trying to get ready, where I was biking. I did I was biking every single day, see how many kilometers I can do it. I was doing it. And it was the same idea. I was not eating during the day and then eating at night. And folks, I have to tell you this. If you know me, if you've known me for a long time, or if you've just known me for 5 minutes, let me tell you something. I've always been that person that was hungry. Like the reason why hungry hippos, right? Always chomping, always chomping. And that was me. And that was me while I was eating a high fat, low fat. Actually, I wasn't never eating a truly high fat, low sugar diet, low carbohydrate diet until I did the Atkins years ago. And then that worked actually quite well for me. I lost like 50 pounds or so, and then I gained it back. But anyway, this is a permanent solution. But really, I was always hungry. And if you think about it, it makes sense why you're always hungry, right? And that's why the idea of eating every 2 hours or eating every 3 hours or every 4 hours is nonsense. Absolutely nonsense. If somebody's telling you that today, tell them that I told you they're stupid. No, I'm just kidding. See, winking. They're not stupid. But you can tell them that's bad advice. Tell them it's bad advice. It's not their fault, but it's bad advice, because the last thing you want to do if you're trying to clean yourself, if you're trying to heal yourself, and if you're trying to burn fat, right? And if you're trying to detox, is just shove more food in your face. That's the last thing you want to do. You want to shove more stuff. You're not going to detox by taking all this product. I'm sorry, that's another thing. I want to have a whole other episode on detox. Holy shit. But fasting is your way to detox. You think you have a lot of junk in your system? You think you've been eating the wrong stuff or smoking the wrong stuff or drinking the wrong stuff? Hey, how about you do a day of nothing? Or even 10 hours of nothing? And think about if you can do that 10 hours of nothing or 12 24 hours, 23 hours of not eating, or 20 hours, and you can eat for 4 hours if you want, or whatever it is, right? But think about what's happening when you're fasting. When you're sleeping, you're fasting, your body goes through cleanup, your body goes through detox, right? Your body goes through a whole cycle: repair, rebuild, flush out, get ready, and kind of rejuvenate and get ready. And when you're fasting, you get some of that benefits during the day. You're not sleeping, of course. You don't get a complete same restfulness or anything like that, but you have energy. You're tapping into your fat stores, right? If you're ketogenically adapted, then that means you're able to tap it at any time. You're using it for fuel, right? Predominantly, not always, because sometimes you'll need some, glycolytic activity or something that needs some quick bursts of energy, and that's where glycogen comes in. But glycogen is basically that sugar molecule, right? That is produced by your liver and stored in your liver. So you have access to sugar if you ever need it. So that's the other argument too. Is like, well, if you need sugar for high performance, if you're an athlete or whatever, your liver makes sugar. Don't take the outside sugar. Organic, liver made sugar, glucose. Try that. So if you're not eating all day, you get to detox. You get to your body has benefits of not eating, right? It's sure, it's not the easiest thing in the world to work, right? Sorry, I got to repeat myself, or I got to correct myself. It's not that it's not easy. It's not normal. It's not common, and it's not regular for a lot of people. That's it. It's not a regular habit for a lot of people to go all day without eating. In fact, we've been told, we've been conditioned and trained and brainwashed our whole life to say, hey, you can't not eat all day. You have to eat something. You have to eat something 2 or 3 times. Folks, I've had people, gyms, trainers, when I worked in the gym, I've had trainers tell me I should be eating 6 times a day. At 300 friggin' pounds, at 280 pounds, they were telling me, yeah, you should eat 6 times a day. Was I trying to put on weight? No, but I still thought, and I still believed, that you needed to keep your metabolism going. Folks, let me tell you, your metabolism does not stop. It does not stop regardless of what kind of food you're eating. It's going to go. In fact, people that are overweight have a higher metabolism. So take your metabolism idea as a machine that burns your fat and throw that out the window, because what burns your fat is your hormones, and your hormones are affected by your sugar balance, right? Insulin is a hormone. When your insulin is low, right, you burn fat. You can tap into ketosis. If your insulin is high, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So insulin is high, you store fat. Insulin is low, you burn it. You want your insulin to be low. Not all the time, because there's times where you want it. Times your insulin is needed, certain times of the cycle for women, certain times when your blood sugar needs to be higher, certain times when you need to crave blood sugar, right? Insulin is there. It's important. It's a vital thing. It was kind of like demonized, or a lot of times people kind of focus on it because it's one marker, but it's just one marker, and it's all about the overall health of your body. Like, if you're not eating a lot of carbohydrates and you're able to stay in ketosis, and then you can fast and you're eating once a day, what comes with the benefits of all of that, right? So not eating all day, you're not eating all day, so it means you're not eating shit. You can't, if you're not eating, you're not going to eat garbage. You're not going to eat cookies and Twinkies or whatever. And if you do eat once a day, and you're eating all that junk in that once a day, sorry, that's pretty pathetic. You're going to waste your one meal on shit food. No, have your one meal and have it good, or have your 2 meals or whatever it is. But the idea is that you're going to fast. You're going to get a great benefit from not eating. Now, got to put the brakes on. Fasting is not for everybody, and it doesn't need to be for everybody. It's so popular right now in the media. It's so popular online. This guy's lost all this weight. This guy's lost all this weight. There's keto groups here and carnivore groups here, and low carb or dirty keto this and dirty carnivore. Dirty carnivore. That sounds like a porno. I don't even know. But anyway, it's like, I always say keep it simple, and I still say keep it simple. The less kind of, fuckery, or the less kind of, messing around you're going to do with it, the less chances are that you're going to mess it up. So like I said, you don't need to go in ketosis. You don't need, if you don't want to, sure. You don't need to fast all day either. That's another thing I hear. Like I was saying, I want to go off track there for a second, but I hear so many times that people are saying, you got to do this, you got to do that, you got to fast this many hours, you're going to eat one meal a day only, and your window has to be this. Just start with missing one meal. The best way to miss breakfast, I'll tell you, is to have a really good high fat and high protein meal at night, the night before. You may wake up not hungry. If you've been eating a high carbohydrate diet for a long time, chances are you may wake up hungry. But if you're one of those people that wakes up and you're not hungry, well, I don't know. Tell me what you think. fatsoradio@gmail.com. Tell me what you think, because from my experience, I've seen that I used to always wake up starving, right? But I think I remember always being hungry. But then again, I hear some people say that they're not. What I'm wondering, I'm kind of thinking out loud, but what I'm wondering is if there's a correlation between the more overweight people are, or the more insulin resistant, or closer to diabetes, or what their sugar levels like. I wonder. Chances are, if your blood sugar level is very low in the morning, right, you may have some close to insulin sensitivity or insulin resistance, or close to diabetes. But at the same time, some blood sugars are raised in the morning, and some people say that's actually natural as well. So I don't know. My point is that even if you're not going to fast all day, the benefits of getting into ketosis, or benefits of even dabbling into ketosis, but don't do it one day and don't do it next day, and don't do it and try another day and don't do it next day. Give it an honest chance. One of the things that I've learned, and you'll probably learn as well, is we're probably preaching to the choir, but talk is cheap, right? We could just do it. We could just talk about it all day long, but just try it out. Try it out. Some of the funniest things I want to say to people that shit on a carnivore diet or a keto diet or anything like that, one of the funniest things I want to say is just fucking try it. How can you bash something so much without even giving it an honest, not even like an honest shot at all? And there's a lot of people out there that are going to do it. And that's fine. They can do that, right? But it's humorous to me. It's so funny to me when people who say they've even tried it, maybe, or say they think they intellectually understand the process, because it's not a very complicated process, right? It's not. If your blood sugar is low, you'll burn ketosis, you'll burn ketones, right? Free fatty acids, and you'll use that as fuel. And if you can do that for a long time, and you can burn all the excess fat you have in your body, or a lot of the excess fat you have in your body. So a lot of people say, yeah, that can work. So I'm just not going to eat sugar. I do that sometimes. Sometimes I don't eat bread. Yeah. I lost 2 pounds once. Yeah, that's good. But I just love bread so much. And I'm not trying to mimic anybody, but that sounds like a lot of buddies I know. Guys, gals, everybody all over the world, right? And it's completely natural. It's completely normal. And it's because it's natural. It's like it's a lot of people, and I'm in that boat, and I was in that boat. I'm still in that boat with other aspects of my life. I'm the furthest thing from perfect, but a lot of people, and me included, will understand something and understand it so well, and really. Just because they can't get themselves to do it yet, or they haven't found what they call maybe the willpower or the drive or the motivation or the inspiration even to do it yet, oftentimes they'll shit on it. And I don't even know the reason. I'm not a psychologist. I don't know the reason for it, but I've been I've been to blame for doing that. I'm positive I've done that many times in my life, where I had someone told me something that was true, or something that could be true, right? And I just 100% dismiss it because I had something else in my mind. It's, this confirmation bias, right? Or sometimes we're in these echo chambers where we just do what we do because we know. But one of the things you find, and I'm not speaking as like a singular person here, because a lot of people will attest to this, is that when you find something that really works for you, and it like undeniably works for you, then sometimes it's exhausting even to debate, and sometimes it's exhausting even to just have the intellectually sparring, because it's like, well, it's completely clear to you, but I understand the importance of still talking about that conversation and still having that conversation, because that's how we get locked into our trains of thought or our echo chambers, and we got to break out of that. We have to be open-minded. So that being said, you still have to listen to your body. I mean, I'm not going to listen to a different opinion just because it's different more than I'm going to listen to 6 years of experimenting with my body, right? When I've also had 35 years of experimenting with my body before that. So I know what my test case is, right? I know what the what am I trying to say? The placebo or the control. But the control on my diet is the shit I used to eat. That's what it is. So this is way better. And you can say, yes, Carlo, what if your diet was shitty before? What if you just ate all this crappy food? And now, what if you just cleaned up your diet? Okay. Now, if you just clean up your diet, what am I going to clean up my diet with? well, you should have many fruits and many vegetables and grains and quinoa and all these pseudo grains and all this stuff and more fiber and fiber and fiber and fruits and vegetables and sugar and sugar and sugar and all this stuff and eat 5 times a day or whatever, even if you want to eat 2 or 3 times a day. Like, why is that better? It's not better because it's not going to get me out of the mess that I'm in. And that's what this is about for me. That's what this is about for a lot of people. And the mess that I'm in, like, I don't know what causes what, right? I don't know what causes what, but I know where I'm at and I know where I was and I know where I don't want to be. And everything from losing weight to regaining your youth. So I'm going to talk about myself, okay? Everything from me losing 100 pounds or so to me feeling like I literally I can do more movement wise, mobility wise. I can't do the splits anymore. I'm still trying to get there, but work wise, physically wise, demanding all day working, I can do more than I did 20 years ago. That means more than when I was 22. If you feel better when you're 42 than you did when you're 22, and you're saying that it's because something that is showing a lot of advice, like, or showing a lot of results, like, you can probably understand where I'm coming from, right? And this is what I'm saying. I've tried all the other diets, and I'm not saying that I'm better than you and you're better than anybody else, and that this diet is better. This is the most natural thing for me, and it makes complete sense as long as you remove the garbage that we've been taught. And it makes sense. Why is there a push? Why is there a push for people to eat fruits and vegetables? Like, do you think our genetics are so messed up? We're so far off our natural path that we don't know what we crave. We don't know what we really want and what we're really satisfied. Because I can tell you right now, if you're eating salads and vegetables and fruit, you're not eating once a day. And if you're eating once a day, you're eating a bushel of that shit. A bushel. And then you're in the bathroom for the next 6 hours, farting or shitting. And prove me wrong. Show me that you're a vegan or vegetarian or whatever it is, and you're eating fruits and vegetables and grains or whatever once a day, and you're not going through gastrointestinal explosive shits all day or farting, and you feel like $1,000,000 and you can lift the house and you can run and you can jump and you can ride a bike and all that stuff. But if you're eating more than once or twice a day, I get that. You have to keep on fueling the body. What I'm saying is that if you want to do this, I think the best way to do this, fasting. At the end, this is all about fasting, right? This episode, at least, anyway. If you want to do the fasting thing, I think the best thing to do is try the ketogenic approach, even the carnivore approach. Some people are going right to carnivore without even going to ketosis, and that's even more natural to me. Sorry, not even more. It is the most natural thing to me is just to be a carnivore and eat some fruits and berries, whatever, once in a while. That's completely natural and it's completely logical to me because what's always around is animal food. It's true. There's always animal food around. Every part of the earth where there's people, there's animal. Not nearly every part of the earth where there's people, you can grow food. That's just the bottom line. That's just the bottom line. Animals, herding animals, ruminants, birds, fish, reptiles will grow anywhere and they will live almost anywhere, folks. That's why this makes complete sense to me. And that's why a lot of people take the jump to carnivore and say, well, holy shit. If it was okay to just completely give up grains and not die without that fiber, right? Then maybe it's completely good to get rid of all the vegetables and fruit too. And again, I'm not saying that this is the best approach for everybody, but I'm not saying it's not. I'm not, it may work for you. And that's why I like to say that it's simple. It's completely simple. It's like, it's meat. That's it. You eat it. And then you don't think about eating again. And really, I can only truly say that I have no cravings when I'm on the carnivore diet. I'm on a fairly strict carnivore diet with the exception of maybe, the odd berry or something. If I go in the fridge and I pick one out, but like really when I'm on a strict carnivore diet, no cravings, sugar, nothing. And that's a testament to me. Like that's so big to me, folks, because I spent 35, well, I'm 44 right now. I'm 42 right now. I started this diet 2016 or so. So what's that, 5 years ago? Okay. So what's that? Makes me 37, right? 37 years, I did the same thing over and over again. I did some changes here and there. Sometimes I went on a low-fat diet. And what a low-fat diet does for a lot of people, again, not to get into it, but it does help people lose some weight because you're going to lower your calories a lot, right? There's a lot of calories in fat, but that's a good thing. It's nutrient dense. Calories are nutrients. They bring other calories, other nutrients as well, but it's part of it is nutrients. It's energy. Sorry, it's an energy. So anyway, folks, if you're going to try the fasting thing, let me know how you think. Let me know how it goes for you, right? Let me, if you want advice, or not advice, medical advice, of course, but just if you want an idea of what I did to see if it makes sense to you, see if it's something that you'd like to do, talk to a doctor or whatever. There's lots of documentation online. If you're watching this online, of course, thank you. Don't forget to subscribe and like and comment and hit the notification button as well. I don't tell everybody that, but hit the notification button so you're notified of every time I have a new episode. And every episode comes out every single Friday. Again, Fatso Radio, I love you all. Episode number 111, a fast one on fasting. Ha ha ha, so funny. I'm so funny. I love you guys. I love you all. Thank you. Peace. Let's say bye to everybody. And we'll say thanks for listening. Say thanks for listening. Bye-bye.
Fatso Radio, the really great podcast show.
Fatso Radio, the really great podcast show.
So get your butt and get in your chair.
Don't eat your nails and don't pull your hair.
We'll talk about chicken or talk about steak.
We'll talk about fat, for goodness sake.
Fatso, the really great podcast show.
Fatso, a very first podcast show.